Alright guys, so here, took off the drive with the propeller. So yeah, I had to unhook this one tube. Everything just slid right out. There's a little pry hole right here. You can slide your screwdriver and slightly help it, and then it will just come, because it's on these little pins, dowel pins. And then there's one right here. There's two of them, one right there and one right here. One came out with the other one and one stayed in. And basically there's a screw through here holding this trim tab, and then there's 6 screws from the bottom side. 1 2 3 1 2 3, and then it just slides out really easily. And then to get to this bolt, you had to remove this little rubber grommet, which was located right here. So now let's head inside the shop and see what I got set up. Alright guys, so here it is. This little jig I got set up. So basically I clamped it down to the table with a C-clamp here and a vice grip right here. And this is what we got to get to. Got to slide all this stuff off and let the business begin. Alright guys, so I got the cover off, and this seal basically fell off and stayed there. It holds on 2 dowel pins here also, right here and right here. So there's 4 screws that you gotta remove. They got these little guiding metal tabs. And now I gotta take off this collar right here. So let's get to it. So here, this collar, they sell a special tool that kind of goes in here and pulls it up. But if you're very careful, don't rush this, you can just slightly pry it up on each side and it should just loosen up. Because if you do it really hard from one side, you can stretch this and it won't seat as well as it was before. Then you would probably have to try to find one. So we'll stack everything in order, the way we took everything off, just the way makes things a lot easier. So now there's a plastic bushing that we're taking off, it has a slit. Well, we don't want to try to take it off this way. We're going to slide it out. So now we got this metal case. And that's where the water pump sits. So let's take it off and inspect it. So here we have a shims, I'll call them, or washers. And this one's got 3. They're like spring washers. Basically this one goes in the middle, then just 2 regular ones go on the bottom. So these are just flat ones. 2 flat ones and one's like a spring. It's bent purposely for that reason, to create tension. So we'll set this all right here on the table. So let's see the water pump. Guys, check out the water pump. What do you guys think? Did you guys see all this rubber? I don't think it's working too good. So we'll continue on moving along. So guys, in this part we have to take this little aluminum plate and this Woodruff key. So these Woodruff keys sometimes become a little hassle to take off. They get tight and they're stuck. So one method I tried was got this little hole punch, something like that, and or you can grab a flathead screwdriver and just pound it, give it a few sharp quick pounds, and it will start moving. So just like I got it right here. Since it's like a half moon, it just keeps on sliding out. So now I'll see if I can try and using my pliers to just pull it out. There you go. Knock the camera out just about. Alright, check it out. Alright, we'll set that on the table, and then let's try to get this plate off. Check this plate out. I think it's bent. Looks like it's got some wear. Got some deep grooves on there. We'll set that aside, part of our assembly. Now we got this gasket right here, and we'll peel it off. There it goes, part of the assembly. Now we'll inspect all these bushings and these seals. Make sure everything looks good. Everything looks good. Now let me get to the manual part of the Alright guys, so here's all the new parts that I set up. So that's the order. These two little washers, or I guess you can call them seals, they go onto the lower unit where you install or fill the oil. So there's one there, there's one underneath here. So I haven't replaced this fluid yet, so that's gonna be done after I install this. So those will be the last thing I replace. So here we go. And now I need to replace these dowel pins, because guess what? We got two new ones right there. We'll replace that. We'll install our gaskets, install our plates, and we'll install, the whole order. Alright guys, take care. Stay tuned. Alright, let's try to take these dowel pins out. There goes one. And there goes two. Alright. Now we'll clean this all up. We'll put some grease in there so that way the next $100 it'll be easy to replace that. So now we'll go back in time lapse, and the assembly process will begin. So before we continue on, I wanted to inspect this lower seal under this little cover. So you pop this cover off right here. There's a little tab where you can slide your little screwdriver and inspect. Make sure that your seal is not deteriorated or come apart of any way. So we're going to clean it all up. And carefully we'll blow everything off. Not too much pressure so we don't push anything back into the seal. And as to my knowledge, the seal has no cracks. It's in good condition. The spring is holding it on. We'll add some more grease in here, and we should be good to go. Alright. Alright guys, so here on these bolts I'm preparing my setup of installation. I'm putting some grease on these 4 bolts that will hold this housing. So now what we got to do is, since we put all this plate and this gasket and the dowel pins already in, we will now take our Woodruff key and we will install it by, there's a few methods you can do this by. You can either use a ball bearing hammer, or you can use a pliers. There's a few different methods. As long as you get to start it in correctly, straight, you can do either or. So you can either grab it like this, squeeze it tightly, and then to make sure it's seated all the way in, we'll still use a hammer. Alright, looks perfect. Make sure it's straight, not tilted or anything, because you want this one being straight. Now we'll take the water pump, or the impeller. We'll take some more grease. We'll put it on the inside of here. And I'm also going to put some on the shaft. Rub it really gently. Make sure it's nice and lubed up. So this water pump has a groove in there for this Woodruff key. You see right there. Camera can't focus, but right there. So that has to go over the Woodruff key. So just slide it down. There we go. Next, we want to install our washer set. So the spring one goes in the middle. So I'm going to add some grease in between all this. So while I'm adding some grease, slide this over the top, making sure that I got them in order. Slide it down. Alright, now we'll install our collar. Put some grease in it. Slide it on. We don't want to stretch it. Going over the side, we'll just go over the top. Then we'll take our metal spacer. put some grease inside of it. So put grease inside of this metal spacer. Then you just push it down. Sometimes these get kind of harder to put on, so just lightly tap it with a small hammer. All right, I'm happy with that, just about. Right, looks good. Now we want to install the impeller. Alright, so now I want to add some more grease on the impeller. Just adding it right here on the edges. Because when you start this thing up, while it primes up the whole system with water, it's going to be running dry. So we don't want this thing to start burning. Like you seen the previous, when we just took it off, the old pump, we seen all this rubber material that was like shaved off and stuff. So we don't want to hurt this thing. So we'll just add some all the way around it, just to be on the safe side, you know. It won't hurt because all this will come out anyways. Then we want to put some more on this housing inside here. All right, nice and smeared everywhere evenly, just about. All right, so now we'll be ready to install this housing. Be back in a second. So now we'll install the housing. It goes down like this, and we always rotate to the right. So you grab the shaft and you spin and you gently press until it all just starts seating. Right, just like that. All right, so now we grab our bolts, ready to install. Let's first inspect. Make sure that all the O-rings are pushed in. So we'll rotate the shaft looking into this water port that goes on when you install this back onto the motor. Everything spins pretty freely. Let's put all the bolts in. Keep your fingers on here so this thing doesn't kind of pop up, just to be safe. All right, then we'll gently torque these. I'm first going to lightly go in with my drill. Right. Now we'll grab our wrench. Now we'll slightly torque this to a certain spec, I guess, because you can't really torque it too hard because this is all plastic. So we'll just use a hand. A little tiny. It's 12 millimeter. Right, it looks nice and secure. All right, ready to go. All right, you guys, I'm ready to install the lower end of the drive shaft and the impeller. So I'm carefully going to grab this thing. Careful because of the prop. So we need to install this tube first. So we'll slide it in first. There we go. Slide this tube. Right. Perfect. Keep one hand on it. So what I had to do, couldn't really tell in the video, but the lower end where the little splines were, little shifter, you had to pick up this inside there's this tube. You had to pick it up to shift to guide it in because it kind of drops lower. So I guided it and then everything else went in good. And then this is this rubber hose. It goes to a speed sensor, I believe. You had to put it on while this was inside halfway and you had a little gap. So now, while I'm still holding it, I'm gonna grab the screws, set them right here really closely, and I'm gonna get them started, get them secured slightly, so I know this thing won't fall off. And all these screws already have grease on them, so that way the next person that does the maintenance on it, or if I do it, I know it's gonna be easy because they'll just come out, no strip, no threads, no nothing. So we'll secure one in there a little more than the other ones, and we'll grab our wrench and tighten everything down. Then we'll install our trim tab. All right, stay tuned.